The criminal trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, the then 17-year-old who crossed state lines with an illegal firearm and killed two protesters in Kenosha, is gearing up. Now, this newest development in the court rules is actually quite enraging. So now, prosecutors, according to the judge, will not be able to refer the people to the people that Kyle Rittenhouse shot and killed and injured as victims. Now, this is a ruling from Judge Bruce Schrader, and it came down, and he had said that the word victim cannot be used because it's loaded. It's a loaded word. Oh, yeah, victim. We can't call them victims. Well, okay, all right. So now he asked prosecutors instead to use the term complaining witness, because that sounds better, right? I mean, substitute victim with, he's just complaining. He's a complaining witness. He's complaining. Well, everybody loves complainers, right? Here we go. Here we go. So now, look, here's the thing. I want a fair trial. I'm pretty sure we all want a fair trial, okay? Yes, nobody wants justice to be, miscarried, right? We do, yes, if he's guilty, we want him to be found guilty. If he's innocent, that sucks. But we want the facts of the trial to bear out. If it was real self-defense, okay. But if it wasn't, well then, we would like the trial to be fair. That said, it's shaping up to not be fair. Okay? And so when you have a judge that says, well, the victim, calling them a victim is a loaded term. So you can't use that. But what they can use to describe these people, and they're specifically referring to the defense in this case, Rittenhouse's defense, well, the defense will be allowed to refer to the three people Rittenhouse shot as, quote, arsonists, looters, or rioters. So that's it. That's what Schrader ruled. I mean, he's saying, well, as long as they took part in those activities, of course. So calling these people who are shot, and two of them who are dead and can't defend themselves, calling them, rioters, looters, and arsonists, totally fine. But victims, no. Can't use that. Loaded term. Loaded term. Aren't those loaded as well? Now, Schrader said this. He said, let the evidence show what the evidence shows. And if the evidence shows that any or more than one of these people were engaged in arson, rioting, or looting, then I'm not going to tell the defense that they can't call them that, but the prosecution cannot call them victims. I don't know about you, but that seems a little one-sided here. Like, oh, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and call them rioters. Yeah. Now, here's the thing about Rittenhouse, right? So, like, as I've talked about before, I think the main thing here is Rittenhouse didn't need to be there. He knowingly went across state lines with a weapon he was not illegally allowed to possess in that state as a minor. He just wasn't. Those are the facts that we know. So now, look, maybe the defense has a video where Rittenhouse was, like, threatened before, shooting people with a gun. Okay? And so that would, like, oh, he got scared because somebody had threatened him and had a weapon. And so, that's when he fired the shot and acted in self-defense, right? And then afterwards is when he got chased and then, went after him, whatever, right? We don't know right now. We don't have the evidence, okay? We're going to have to see the evidence, what they have. But now, not being able to refer to the people who are dead as a result of Rittenhouse choosing to be there in the first place as victims, again, makes me think that this is not going to be a fair trial. That regardless of what evidence exists, this guy's going to walk. And there is evidence that Rittenhouse went there specifically because of his desire to have a confrontation with black people. So, in fact, during a previous hearing, Assistant Director Attorney General Thomas Binger asked to argue at trial that Rittenhouse subscribes to the Proud Boys' white supremacist philosophies and violent tactics. So Binger pointed out that Rittenhouse was seen at a bar with members of the white nationalist group's Wisconsin chapter in January and traveled to Miami days later to meet that group's national president. Binger also asked the judge to allow evidence that Rittenhouse had attacked a woman in June 2020 as she was fighting his sister, to kind of show that he has violent proclivities, and also wants to show jurors a video from 15 days before the shootings in which Rittenhouse said that he would like to shoot some men he thought were shoplifting from a pharmacy. So let me just stop there and point out how shoplifting is not a capital crime. Nobody should get the death penalty for shoplifting. Now, understand that not even in the Muslim countries that they denounce, right, do they murder people, do they execute people for shoplifting. Think about it this way. What the right-wingers and Kyle Rittenhouse wanted to do to people who were caught stealing, looting, right? And we all agree that looting is a crime and that you shouldn't do it. But they believe the proper punishment for that, if you're a black person, is to shoot them dead, is to murder them. Whereas in Muslim countries, remember, they hate Muslims, right? In Muslim countries, Saudi Arabia, if you get caught stealing, you get your hand cut off. In here, the American right wing is even more extreme than the Taliban when it comes to looting. Is that not disgusting? I mean, and that's it. That's it. So now, that said, Binger said that Rittenhouse's affiliation with the Proud Boys, the fight and the video show Rittenhouse's propensity towards violence, and described Rittenhouse as a chaos tourist and a teenage vigilante who came to Kenosha looking for trouble. And that's certainly, of course, what I get from him. But the judge says, no, we're not going to allow any of that. Nope. That evidence, well, it's not relevant. It's not relevant to the case. The fact that he has violent proclivities and is white supremacist or has white supremacist leanings, not at all relevant in a case involving him going to a Black Lives Matter rally to cause trouble. Yeah, okay, sure. Now, there is another piece of evidence, though, that might be allowed, and this would be interesting. Prosecutors do plan to show infrared surveillance footage of Rittenhouse first chasing Joseph Rosenbaum, who was the first victim of Kyle Rittenhouse. See, I can actually say he's a victim, but apparently you cannot if you're on the prosecution. So now, if that's true, if that's allowed, if there's video evidence of him actually, before any of the shooting began, chasing after people, antagonizing the crowd, well, that changes the whole game. It changes this from a possible self-defense case to a case where, you have Kyle Rittenhouse, who was an active shooter. In which, of course, the other people, the so-called mob that is going after them and trying to disarm him, was really them trying to take down an active shooter and completely obliterate his defense. I don't know if that video is going to be allowed. You would think that it would be incredibly relevant. Now, the defense is also allowed to use, though, a video showing police encountering Rittenhouse roughly 15 minutes before the shootings, tossing him a bottle of water and saying, quote, "We appreciate you. We appreciate you guys." So now, of course, what does that give? What impression does that give? Well, that he was allowed to be there, even though he illegally penetrated a police line and wasn't actually supposed to be there, especially since he had went over state lines with a weapon that he was not legally allowed to possess. But we appreciate you. And so it's saying, hey, it's okay. It's okay. He's good and he's welcome. He was there in order to help us police. He's the good guy. And the people that unfairly attacked him, well, they're the bad guys. The real villains in this story are the looters and rioters who just happen to be dead so they can't defend themselves. Convenient, isn't it? Very, very convenient, isn't it? Now, I don't know this judge. I don't. But it already feels like this judge is definitely on the side of Rittenhouse, giving him all these nice little breaks, try to make him look better for the jury. And again, I want a fair trial. I want to see all the evidence. And I disagree that his links to white supremacist groups is irrelevant. No, this was a Black Lives Matter protest. I believe he was there to play vigilante. And even if he wasn't there to explicitly shoot someone, he was certainly ready for the possibility. Maybe even eager for it. I don't know. I can't say for certain. Maybe he was just there to impress his white supremacist friends. Scare-filled black people. That'll get him some points online. Prove how much of a badass he is. Now, ironically, he got his wish. Now the right wing absolutely loves him because he did end up shooting 2 people. 3 people, actually. He'd been killing 2. And now, just like George Zimmerman, he is a right-wing hero. They love him. They're giving him money and they're helping his defense. And they will, sit there and defend him no matter what happens. So for him, it's all W's. And so seeing the judge treat this case and allowing Rittenhouse to get all of these special breaks, it gives you, it basically tells people, it sends the message that this is okay. It encourages this behavior. Go ahead and be a vigilante. Go ahead and go. It doesn't matter if you went over state lines. Who cares? Who cares? You shot the rioters and looters, so it's okay. Absolute disgusting. It's just gross. It's just gross. And I have this fear that Rittenhouse is going to walk as a result of all of this. I hope I'm wrong. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.